Hi, welcome to First Chapter Friday. My name is Lucy, and the book that I will be reading the first chapter of today is called The Things We Miss by Leah Stecher. This is the story of JP. She is in 7th grade, and so far the year is not going so well for her. She's picked on a lot by other girls in her class. She's very self-conscious about the way she looks, and she's self-conscious about her body. She has a best friend named Kevin. They've been best friends since birth. They're tightly bonded now because of this comic and TV show that they are both passionate about called Admiral K. Admiral K was introduced to JP and then to Kevin by JP's father, and it helps her to feel a connection to him. He died 2 years ago when she was in 5th grade. So JP lives with her mother and her grandfather, Pop, who she is extremely close to. When JP really wants to get away from things, she goes to this treehouse in her backyard, and she starts to realize that this door that's painted on the wall of the treehouse might actually be a real door. If she goes through that door, she can skip ahead and miss some days of 7th grade, which for JP and how she's feeling right now, that seems ideal. Part 1. Where to, Admiral? Anywhere. Anywhere but here. And step on it. Admiral K, Season 2, Episode 5. I overslept on the morning of my dad's funeral. It was almost 2 years ago, in the middle of 5th grade. I remember that Mom woke me up for the first time with a gentle hand on my back, rubbing comforting circles between my shoulder blades. She sat on the edge of my bed, tucked my hair behind my ear, and said, "It's time to get up," as though she was apologizing. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to close my eyes after she left the room and gently slip out of reality like a thief sneaking out the back door. I didn't mean to curl into a ball under the covers, squeezing my body into as small a shape as I could manage, as though someone might not notice me there, might let me sleep, might let me wake up when it was all over. I didn't mean to. I remember that when Mom woke me up for the second time, she let out a little sound that was halfway between a gasp and a sob. That sound, small and sharp and broken, punctured my cozy sleep cocoon. I don't remember a lot from the day of the funeral, but I remembered that sound perfectly. It was exhaustion and exasperation and sorrow, all rolled into one. And it was my fault she was making that sound. I'd taken this horrible day and made it even worse. Because who does that? Who nearly sleeps through their dad's funeral? JP, Mom pulled back the covers, touched my shoulder, and waited until I sat up. Her eyes were red from crying. "It's really time to get up, sweetie. We're going to be late." "I'm sorry," I said immediately, guilt burning away any lingering sleepiness. She gave me a tired smile. "It's okay. I don't want to go either. I don't want this to be happening, but you'd regret it if you missed it." She thought I'd done it on purpose. Shame spiked through me like an electric shock. "I didn't mean to fall back asleep," I insisted. Mom didn't seem to hear. She was already rummaging in my dresser, pulling out my funeral outfit. She had bought me a new pair of black pants last week, and when she laid them out across the bed, I could see that they were a size too small. Somehow, that felt like my fault too. I was already the tallest girl in the 5th grade, but it wasn't a good kind of tall, because I was also round, tall and round. I was just large and took up so much more space than the other girls. Mom said they would catch up, that I was just getting my growth spurt early. All I knew was that I was out of step with everyone else, that I was off the beat, that I was doing it wrong. "Hurry up and brush your teeth," Mom said. "We'll eat breakfast in the car." It was April in Southern California, which meant the morning was cool enough to want another layer. But you could tell that the afternoon was going to blossom into one of those perfect, sunny days that would bring out the freckles on my pale arms. Mom and I were in the front row of chairs next to the casket. The dark wood was polished to a shine, and the sunlight bounced right off it. No matter where I looked, it sparkled like glitter in the edges of my vision. The button of my 2 small funeral pants pressed uncomfortably into my belly when we sat. Frizzy hair kept escaping from my low ponytail to whip around my head in embarrassing circles. Mom would have pulled it back into a French braid if we'd had time, if I hadn't overslept. Every time a stray hair touched my face, I flinched at the reminder that I'd messed up. I shifted in my white plastic folding chair, trying to escape my pants, my hair, my whole self. and Mom put a hand on my thigh in a silent order to sit still. I remember that I wanted to leave right after the service, but Mom had to talk to so many people who wanted to murmur things like, "So sorry for your loss. He was so young, such a terrible accident, so tragic." My best friend, Kevin Takagi, waited for me while Mom stood by the grave and let everyone grasp her hand or her shoulder while her high heels sunk deeper and deeper into the dirt. It was almost spring break, so Mom let me stay home until after the holiday. When I stepped through the door back into Miss Thompson's 5th grade classroom 2 weeks later, conversations died out. Everyone watched me walk to my desk as though they thought I might break down and cry right next to the shelf of abridged classics for kids. I felt their stares like individual laser beams, and I started to sweat under the heat. I hated having that many eyes on me. What else did they see? Could they see how many outfits I'd tried on while getting dressed this morning, looking for something that didn't exist? Something that would make me normal-sized, make me smaller? Miranda O'Donnell, with her perfect red hair and unfreckled porcelain skin, turned around in the desk in front of mine. "I'm sorry for your loss," she whispered, clearly reciting the words her parents had given her. Once the official sympathy was out of the way, she licked her lips eagerly. "So what was the funeral like?" What was it like? Miranda was leaning so far forward in her chair that I thought she might fall right off the seat. Her eyes were wide, eyebrows lifted, expectant, as though I had some great story to tell, some big adventure to share. I didn't know what to say. When I thought about it too much, I felt sadness sinking into each of my limbs like heavy blankets. "Zombies," I said fondly. "Zombies came bursting out of all the other graves and attacked us. We had to run for our lives." Like flicking a light switch, Miranda's face went from curious to confused. "What?" I nodded. "I think my dad is a zombie now, too." It took me a second to identify the new emotion that took root in Miranda. Shock. Horror. "Why would you say that?" She looked around to see if anyone else was listening and raised her hand to get Miss Thompson's attention. "That's a bad thing to say," she informed me. Everyone was looking at me, still looking, but their faces had changed to match Miranda's. And I knew I'd done it again, said the wrong thing, been the wrong person. I couldn't even talk about my dad's funeral correctly. Mom was there to pick me up after school, even though I normally had to go to after-school care until 6 p.m. when she got off work. "So, JP," she said as I slid into the passenger seat. There was a small wrinkle between her eyebrows, and she was smiling with her mouth closed, amusement and confusion fighting for position on her face. "I got a call from Miss Thompson at lunch today. She said you—" She coughed, collected her thoughts. "Well, she said you told your classmates that your father turned into a zombie at the funeral." I didn't know what to say. Mom put her free hand on my leg and made a soothing motion. "Oh, sweetie, there's no right thing to say. There's no right way to grieve." Clearly there was, though. Clearly telling Miranda that the graveyard had turned into a massive zombie attack had been the wrong way to grieve. "Okay," I said. We drove the rest of the way in silence. It wasn't until we were inside the house that I spoke again. "Why did I say that, though? What's wrong with me?" "Nothing," Mom said firmly. I heard the sound of jangling hangers where Pop was unpacking his boxes in the downstairs bedroom. The noises stopped, and he joined us in the hallway, his bald head shining under the lighting fixtures. "Nothing," he agreed. "We all say silly things sometimes. In fact, I think most of the things I say are silly." I shook my head. "That's not the same." Mom smiled. "You're right on that point. Your Pop silliness is beyond compare. But JP, you're just growing up." She tapped me lightly on the side of my head. "Your brain is still growing too. It grows and changes until you're, in your 20s, like a house that's still being built. So it's okay if you haven't figured it all out yet. That's normal." "To be clear," Pop jumped in, "you don't magically have things figured out in your 20s. Trust me." He tried to subtly point at Mom and mouthed, "She didn't." Mom rolled her eyes. "Dad," she sighed, "I'm just saying that it's more than okay to feel off balance at your age. It's normal, and death is hard to talk about, even for adults." "Right," Pop nodded, "but maybe cool it on the zombie talk." They both looked at me expectantly. "Oh, okay, yeah, no more zombies." But the truth had been clear to me from the moment Mom woke me up with that gasp of surprise. If everyone else was off balance, I was fully upside down and backwards. Everyone else must have gotten a set of instructions about how to exist, how to not oversleep on the day of your dad's funeral, how to not freak out your classmates, how to not be too large for your pants, how to just be normal. But no one had given me a copy. That's the end of chapter 1 of The Things We Miss. Right away in that first chapter, you can see that there might be a lot of things that JP wants to get away from, that she feels like she's doing wrong. And a lot of this book is about that experience of always feeling like you're doing or saying the wrong thing, and not just JP, but people around her as well. It's sort of a universal middle school, 7th grade feeling. But JP doesn't really have many people to talk about it with, so she doesn't understand that she's not alone in that feeling. And she finds this way to escape a lot of the pain and escape a lot of the discomfort. But she does start to learn that maybe skipping time and maybe leaving behind the bad parts comes at a cost. Sometimes the only way to deal with the bad parts is to go through them, because other people might be going through them with you. Other people are there to support you. And conversely, you need to be around to support other people as well. This book was so good. It was magical in the sense that JP was doing something that can't really happen in real life, but it also felt relatable for anyone who is in 7th grade or is going into 7th grade, who has been in 7th grade or middle school at all. And it was somewhat heartbreaking just because you were going through with JP what she was feeling. You also got frustrated with her at times because you understood what she was maybe missing out on and wasn't there for. But you're really on her side. And her friendship with Kevin is a really important part of this book as well. Pop Pop was one of my favorite characters in this book. He's very funny and he brings some humor to situations when it's really needed. I sat down to read this book and didn't really stop until I was finished. That's how much I enjoyed it. So I would recommend that you read The Things We Miss by Leah Stecher. Thank you for joining me.